Hello world, this is Lisa Friedrichsen, your friend at Johnson County Community College, and this short screencast will discuss validation. For my classes, when you submit your homework, I'm expecting you to validate every file every time. That's every HTML file and every CSS file, and there are some very good reasons for that. Running your code through the validator helps you fix errors, both those that are visible on the page and those that are not visible on the page, but would cause issues for screen readers or crawlers or search engine optimization, the things that go on with the code that the user may not see directly on the page. A cleanly validated file also improves professionalism and greatly improves productivity down the road, because if you have an error-free file, you'll be able to update it and maintain it much faster down the road. And for our purposes, the validator is a great teacher. It helps educate you on common errors that you've made. So then the question becomes, how do you validate your files? Well, the HTML and CSS validators are both housed at the w3.org website, and here are the links. You'll want to use the validators at the w3.org website because the w3.org website is the keeper of the official standards for both HTML and CSS. So let's click this link and look at the validator. There are 3 different methods by which you can validate your code. Validate by URI would be typing in an address for a web page and checking it by the web page address. Validating by file upload would allow you to browse for that file on your local machine and upload it. Or you can validate it by direct input. And that's merely by copying your code from your editor and pasting it into your window and then clicking check. The validator will go through your code, and what you're looking for is everything to be green. When the validator finds an error, it shows the error in this red color, and it's telling me that I have one error. It's telling me that the element UL is not a child of element UL in this context. It's also telling me about the line number. So if I go to line number 20, it's choking on this UL element. And what I have here is a web page with 2 unordered lists. So let's look at this page again. I have a list inside of a list. The validator was telling me that at line 20, it cannot read this UL. Many times when the validator gives you an error, the error is actually created on the line above it, and that's the case here. The validator is saying that you cannot just have an unordered list as an item in this unordered list. Everything in an unordered list must be contained within li tags. So it looks like it's coded correctly, but it's really not. If I move this closing list item and close that list item and include the entire unordered list in that list, it will look exactly the same on the web page. But now the code is correct, because within UL tags, you may only have content in list item tags. Now what you put in the list item can be another unordered list. However, you can't have a paragraph or any content hanging out in an unordered list that's not enclosed in list item tags. So now if I do a Control-A, Control-C to copy all, go back to my validator, paste and check, my validation will be cleaning. That's one of the more difficult validation errors to debug, so I wanted to demonstrate that. But there are many simple validation errors that the validator will catch, such as the missing quotation mark around your attribute value, a missing closing tag will render just fine, but again, the code is not correct and will not be read perfectly by other programs. If you're missing an H1 tag in your page, the validator will suggest to you that you have one H1 tag. So the validator is a great friend in helping you find and fix your errors. Do not be overwhelmed by the technical feedback that the validator gives you. Just look for that line number, look for the error, check the line above, and use the validator to fix and clean your code. The same goes for CSS. On your style sheet, you can Control-A, Control-C, and check the CSS validator. I'm going to go ahead and paste in my CSS, and it also is giving me all green information, which means there are no errors found in my style sheet. Common style sheet errors include forgetting an opening or closing curly brace, putting an extra space in the rule that is not allowed. There are never any spaces allowed between the number and the percent sign or any unit of measure. There is not a space allowed here. That would be a validation error. Forgetting a closing semicolon, very common error. Forgetting a colon or switching the colon and semicolon. Forgetting the pound sign before the color code is another common error. Not properly closing a comment is another common error. But of course, Notepad++ alerts you to that with this nice color coding. So those are some of the common errors that you'll find in your HTML and your style sheet. Do use these validation services. They are your best friend and help you gain all of these wonderful benefits, especially while you're learning HTML and CSS. Thank you.